I think I fully understand and see the president's strategy in dealing with Dr. Fauci and trying to get America back on track with a narrative that actually fits what's happening rather than being driven by fear and hysteria for a political agenda. In particular now by the far left, who is so concerned about children that apparently they can never go back to school again. The media is trying to build up that there is this rift between the president and Dr. Fauci, and of course it's because the president is rejecting science and he's just wanting to tout an economy because it's all about an election with him, and we need to listen to the wise wisdom of Dr. Anthony Fauci. Now, many of us have been working overtime at exposing exactly who Dr. Fauci is, exactly what he's about. I have several other videos on that. I'm not going to reiterate all of that here and now. Just look through the menu. You'll see them. Watch them. There is some very powerful stuff, and there are a lot of other medical experts who have come forward and really shed a lot of light on who Anthony Fauci is, what he is about, and what his agenda that he's trying to achieve concerns. That said, the president, understanding that that will be the media attack against him, the liberal attack against him, is wisely allowing Fauci to be marginalized, not by himself directly yet. And notice I said the word yet. What he's doing is he's letting others throw the volleys, let Fauci take the hits, and then when the White House gets pressed on it, well, the press, of course, says, I like Dr. Fauci. Now, of course, all of this happens because Peter Navarro, White House trade advisor, wrote a blistering op-ed about Anthony Fauci, that basically he's been wrong about everything. Now, of course, immediately, CNN and the rest of the lying legacy corporate corrupt mainstream media sprang into action. Aha! The White House is now attacking Anthony Fauci, or as they refer to him, Saint Fauci. To which the president simply responded, I get along very well with Dr. Fauci. I have a very good relationship with Dr. Fauci. Now, again, the president has never said anything publicly negative against Dr. Fauci. And all of this is a purposeful, planned strategy. Now, Peter Navarro actually said that, Fauci may be a guy with a great bedside manner, but come on, he's been wrong about everything. Now, that was first used as a line of attack from the lieutenant governor of Texas.
We've had 2,424 people die, and New York has had over 31,000. Even California has had almost 3 times as much as Texas. And remember, Laura, those 2 states have been locked down the whole time while we have been open. So locking down doesn't work. If it did, those 2 states would be doing better than Texas. Fauci said today that he's concerned about states like Texas that skipped over certain things. He doesn't know what he's talking about. We haven't skipped over anything. The only thing I'm skipping over is listening to him. You have a lot of doctors on your show from day one. Your doctors have been right almost every time, and he has been wrong every time on every issue. I don't need his advice anymore. We'll listen to a lot of science, we'll listen to a lot of doctors, and Governor Abbott, myself, and other state leaders will make the decision. No thank you, Dr. Fauci.
Rand Paul correctly assessed that Fauci shouldn't be the only person we're listening to.
You said that it was, pointed to say to him, I don't think you're the end all. Do you think he's gotten puffed up or has too much attention, or we're leaning on him too much?
I don't question Dr. Fauci's motives. I think he's a good person. I think he wants what's best for the country, but he's an extremely cautious person. And I don't think any of these experts are omniscient. I think that they have a basis of knowledge, but when you prognosticate about the future and when you advocate for things dramatic and drastic like closing all the schools, you should look at all the information. So the real question I asked him was, are you aware of the mortality among children? And he is, but the mortality is exceedingly low, close to zero in the age group 0 to 18. Very, very low. So should we say all of these kids 0 to 18 don't go to school even though their mortality is so low? No, I think we ought to make that part of our decision-making process, but we really need to have competition among the experts, because we had experts, particularly that guy Ferguson over in England, saying it's going to be 2 million, best case 1 million. Well, this guy has gotten everything wrong for the last couple of decades. He predicted mad cow disease would kill 136,000 and 177 people died. So we have to take with a grain of salt these experts and their prognostications. The future is very uncertain, but turning down and closing the entire economy has been devastating. That's a fact.
If the president made any misstep in this whole process, it was allowing Anthony Fauci to become the face and the voice of the corona policy. Now, initially, the president, of course, never having dealt with anything like this, and really who has, you try to assemble people around you that are supposed to be in the loop, in the know, the so-called experts. I am sure that the president, in all of his years in business and real estate development, there were times and situations that arose that, he had never dealt with that, didn't have any personal, firsthand, hands-on experience in an area, and he had to rely on experts to guide him through. And I'm sure, like in any venture, there were times that worked out great, and there were times that didn't work out. There were times that, he realized, this expert doesn't know what he's doing. You're gone. I got to bring in this guy now to fix your mess. And that's where he is with Fauci. And he walks this fine line because really the media elevated him to sainthood. The president spoke glowingly of him initially, and that was because the president was completely ill-served by the enemy within, Mike Pence. And I said it again, and I didn't stutter, stammer, trip, or stumble when I said it. He is the enemy within. It is Mike Pence who picked Fauci, and they're all representing the same big pharma interest. And again, I don't want to get sidetracked on all of that. The president is well looped in on what Anthony Fauci is about. In fact, someone that I know, whose name I cannot disclose, who has spoken directly to the president, has said, quote, the president knows, and this was a couple of months ago, the president knows that Anthony Fauci is never going to be satisfied until there's not another runny nose left on the planet. And so the president understands that the media and his liberal opponents, they hang everything on the wisdom of Anthony Fauci. So right now, he is allowing others, and make no mistake about it, this is on purpose, others to take the shots while the president continues to say, I like the Fauci. I like him. You're going to watch that narrative switch in the next week. Now, let me lay the strategy out. The Trump administration has ordered hospitals to now bypass the CDC, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, and they are now to send all of their COVID-19 patient information to a new central database in Washington, D.C. That mandate went into effect today, Wednesday, July the 15th. Let that sink in. The Health and Human Services has now stated emphatically that the Center for Disease Control, the CDC, they're being bypassed now because they have botched it. Nobody knows what numbers are real anymore. Nobody. And so it's all going to have to go to Washington because there are all kinds of documentation now that even the New York Times is having to report, where the CDC initially told hospitals report every viral infection as COVID. Now they're basically stating report every death as COVID, 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 COVID. Every hospitalization is COVID, COVID, COVID. And so nobody knows what the real numbers are. So now the president has stepped in and He now has a team in place that will now process the information, and you're going to start seeing numbers corrected. Now, all of this is in the wake of, over the past, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, Texas and Florida have been in the media crosshairs as this epicenter, new outbreaks. See, these careless Republican governors, they open too quickly, they open too soon, and they're killing people. You have guys like Cuomo over in New York, who literally are responsible for the killing of thousands of their own people through his recklessness in sticking all of those COVID positive people in nursing homes, and it was by his directive. He has actually killed people. Has he been held accountable for this? No. No, but he'll snipe at the president, and he'll now snipe at states like Texas and also states like Florida and say, hey, I'm enacting a travel ban that if anyone from your states comes into my state, they're on a 2-week quarantine. Well, isn't that just sweet? Deflecting the fact that his decisions have actually killed people. Well, now there are even members within the CDC who have had to acknowledge if there's a spike in the South, it's because people from the Northeast, New York, they went down to the South to basically escape the draconian lockdown, to get out in some fresh air and enjoy themselves. And you know what they brought with them? Corona. The lockdowns aren't working. There's overwhelming scientific proof of that now. But then there's been this concentrated lie to lie about Texas and Florida in particular. Number one, the Democrats would love to flip those blue. And they've made inroads. They got a whole lot of libs that they've deposited in places like Austin and Houston in Texas. So they're hoping to be able to flip the whole state. And, a whole lot of good old Yankee liberals, they like to retire and live in Florida, and they want to flip Florida. So they have to make the Republican governors look bad. And for about the past 3 weeks, all these endless reports that their hospitals are overwhelmed and 3,000 new cases a day in the state of Florida, and it turns out to be hogwash. Orlando Fox 35 decided to do a little bit of investigation into this exorbitant number, and you know what they found out? That of the 300 test sites in the state of Florida, all 300 for the past month have been reporting 100% positivity. Well, what? That every test being done, COVID test, is coming back positive? No, nay. That's not even mathematically or statistically possible. In fact, the news station reported that the area hospital Orlando Health confirmed errors in their report. The hospital stated that their positivity rate was only 9.4%, not the 98% that they had initially reported. Bum, ba-dum, bum. Another Orlando area lab, Veterans Medical Center, had a positivity rating of 76% positive. They have now had to come forward and correct that and say, no, it's not 76%, it's 6%. Bum, ba-dum, bum. The inflated numbers come as Florida has been recording record numbers of COVID-19 infections. Though an analysis of the state data by the Just the News organization reveals that the state's recent record-breaking counts of infections may have been overestimated by as much as 30%, and I guarantee it's a whole lot more than that, because they have been reporting near 100% positive infections for the past 3 weeks at over 300 testing sites. That's not statistically possible. So is this gross incompetence or corruption? I think we already know that. So what the president is doing now, he's letting all this information come out. The numbers in Florida are wrong. The numbers in Texas are wrong. The New York Times had already reported how the state of New York had initially over-exaggerated everything. And the president said, you know, when I had an opportunity to really help New York, I sent Navy ships there. Cuomo didn't take advantage of them. We set up an incredible emergency hospital, built it in days, and it was ready to go. Governor didn't want it. The mayor didn't want it. The mayor didn't want Samaritan's Purse there. They're homophobic. Get them out of here. Okay. And you lost 7,000 people because you stuck COVID positive people in nursing homes. And in that lockdown scenario, the people died. Lockdowns don't work. This is corruption on a high scale. It is a lie. And now, with no scientific evidence whatsoever that the rate of infection among young people under the age of 18 is practically zero, we're now actually scaring people into not sending their kids to school. And you got lemmings and 30-somethings applauding, I don't want to send my child back to school. Well, I wouldn't send them to public school either because their minds will be infected with liberalism. So I've got no problem with not sending your kids back to public school, but Christian schools, private schools ought to be wide open this fall. Wide open. No more of this. And I believe the president's allowing this stuff to play out now because he's going to, in one crushing blow, he is going to start revealing that Fauci has been oh so wrong. Look at all of this misreporting. We can't trust any of it now. This is going to bring a crushing defeat to the far left, to the libloons, and you can kiss mandates on things like masks and all of this goodbye in a matter of weeks now. First thing that has to happen is Fauci has to be undeified. And that's going to come as a groundswell from the American people as news outlets are going to have to start reporting what's actually happening. This is all being done on purpose. The president's got this. We're moving forward. Hey, that's it for this rant. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you give us a great big thumbs up. Make sure you share this video. Smack the bell to get notification of my rants when you click the word all.